Welcome to On Second Thought. I'm John Price, and I'm here with our pastor, Jay Hackett, where every week we take a deeper dive into life at Peachtree Corners Baptist Church. Whether we're talking about the latest sermon, upcoming events, or just whatever's on Jay's mind, this is your insider look at our church, our staff, and what makes PCBC your church on the corner. So join our conversation as we help you find community, purpose, and growth. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to On Second Thought. This is episode 45 and we are into March. March 1st was yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yesterday was a big day.
Yesterday was a big day.
A lot going on.
Oh my gosh, man. You ever tired?
Yeah.
Are you tired?
I'm tired and I'm hurting.
You're
But
hurting.
I slept in this morning.
Did you really?
Made y'all a little bit late. Last week it was you.
Last week it was
Running
me.
behind.
Yes.
This time was me. I was hip and knee was keeping me up. I was like, a little slow going. But we're here because we care about you.
We care about getting this information in your hands.
Right. So yesterday was the last sermon in the series, Built to Last.
It was. It
great
was a
sermon.
good series. I thought it was a fun series, not only to help with marriages, but really with relationships in general.
Yeah.
And I had so many people that, just come up and they said, hey, man, I can use this at the office. I can use this, in my neighbor that's just very frustrating to me right now, or somebody I just wrote off. And
Yeah.
you've
And
given me a lot
spouses
to
were
think
saying,
about it.
and you can use it towards me too.
Yeah.
Not
No, I
just-
don't think we need it at home. I think our home life is about perfect. So,
Right.
But I'll use it in other arenas of my life. But no, it's just, sometimes we just got to think. And I think yesterday we were talking about protection. We're talking about how that covering that's there. And last night I had a couple come up and they said, we love the way that you laid out the difference between protection from outside influences and then protection from the inside influence of how we treat. And so, it's like sometimes we're very good at protecting our spouse from the outside influences. We'll go to war. We'll do whatever it takes. But then we come home and we start shooting arrows at them. And, and it's kind of one of those convicting things of going, I do that. And I'm very judgmental and I'm very harsh and critical of different things at different times. And so it's like, okay, hold on. Why do I do that?
Yeah.
And
Well,
for someone I love more than anything, I don't want to hurt them,
Well, that's kind of a sign of maturity, of growth is, when we're children, we kind of start with this predator nature, which is, I want everything. They say the most dangerous person is a 2-year-old. If they had opposable, if they had the motor skills, they would end the world. But because it's all about me. And so learning to go from that predator to protector shows real maturity, because a lot of times we do slip back into the predator mode, even with our spouse or our kids or the people that we care about. It's going back into, I got to take care of me, not I get to take care of those that God has put in my life, and that represents Him well.
Correct. So I thought, it's often that it's overlooked. I think sometimes is that thought of covering and how am I protecting my spouse, husband or wife, doesn't matter. How am I praying for them? Am I asking God's protection over their heart and their life? And I said, pray for, but pray with, because I think, yesterday, one of the things that really just stuck out to me is that it's something humbling about praying with your spouse, because there's no one that knows you as well as they do.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like, hold on a second.
There's a vulnerability there.
There is.
And I don't know if it's a guy thing or if it's both, but and I think it is because we have an enemy that wants to keep us from the most powerful things in our arsenal, but it's kind of hard to pray with your spouse sometimes, and it sometimes feels weird or just vulnerable but I think that is when you get into the habit of praying together it really does help your intimacy together.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I mean, so many walls come down from that, and prayerfully get to see the heart behind it, which
Yeah.
I think is so key. And I know sometimes it's, I've had guys tell me in the past, because I'm so protective, it's not that I don't want to pray with my spouse, but it's almost like sometimes I want to protect her from knowing we don't have everything perfect.
Right.
Because when you share, hey, we might be in some financial crisis at this moment. The business isn't doing well, or this is not going the way that I thought it would. Your wife's response in that moment may be, sweetheart, it's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. But then a lot of our wives are processors. And so when they take that information back and now they're alone by themselves thinking, are we going to lose the house? Are we going to lose you know what I'm saying? And so it's almost like guys are like, I don't want to share. I want to share because I love her and I'm close to her, but I also want to protect, and I don't want her to freak out and get scared to death because we're going to figure a way through this, but we're both going to depend on God to get us there.
Well, that one of the greatest needs of women, generally speaking, is a sense of security.
Yeah.
And so when you, so there's that tension between being open and honest and vulnerable. Hey, here's what I'm going through. Here are my fears.
Mm-hmm.
Is that playing against her greatest need?
Correct.
And so it's kind of a both and, is being aware and then, okay, so how can I be honest in this and help her feel secure? And we're going to figure this out. God's going to, we're going to him. We're dependent on him, not ultimately ourselves.
Correct.
So that is a thing because, we all handle things sometimes good, sometimes not good. And so that's one of the things that our spouses really deal with is, I know April, is going through the numbers. If I'm not eating right or something, she's like, all right, if something were to happen to John, I have this insurance. I'm going to be okay. It's just how she's wired, how her mind goes.
Exactly.
And so, that's huge. Kind of that men are from Mars. Yeah, we're different.
Goodness. We are different.
Yeah.
We're wired different, but that's where I think that persistence comes in. A strand of 3 cords is not easily broken.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we are going to figure this out, and we know where we can share things and we know how to share things. And like you said, we don't always share them correctly the first time, but it's like, okay, how can I be vulnerable here? But we're going to persistently push through this to go, hey, man, we're in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
And I want this to be the best it could possibly be. And I want you to know I'm here with you. We are partners in this thing. And I think that there's such a joy. And because it's a gift, we want to protect it. We want to be prayerful with it. And we want to persist through it. And, so I thought yesterday was great. Pushed us right into our first Grace marriage that happened yesterday. And great kickoff to that. I think I had like 170 people that were actually in the room yesterday.
Yeah.
We had a few traveling, doing some other stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great kickoff because, it's video driven. So we watched the videos and then we would break down and take 5 to 7 minutes to write down your thoughts, and then you'd share them. With your spouse.
I liked how it broke it up into stuff. So there was never just one extended time where you're just like a lot of the teaching sessions, some of these courses, it's like a 50-minute video.
Yeah.
Then you have a little bit discussion if there's time, but having a little bit of homework to work on or write their work to work on
in class
individually to get you thinking. I think the first thing was, what are the character traits or spiritual things or relational that you really like and appreciate about your spouse, and kind of reminding you what drew you to them and the things that you love. That's a great place to start. Because that's usually not where we start, where we're in disagreements.
We
don't remember
personality
that.
traits I don't like.
Yeah.
Let me address these.
I think we got to that. That was one of the.
And
And I was talking to one guy who was kind of like, why did we end on that? It's like, well, see you next month. You
Yeah.
just discussed all the things you're frustrated about
And
with your
here's my
spouse.
frustration.
Yeah, no,
Um,
but it was, I thought it was good. Now, I had a little different perspective because April wasn't there. She was flying in.
Yep.
She'd been down in Florida for the weekend. She was flying in. In fact, I had to step out like halfway through it to let her in to the back kitchen door so she could bring in stuff. We had a wedding shower after, the life group hour.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have we'll call it a benefit of being able to take what I'd written down and discuss it with her. I did have the benefit in that while everybody else was discussing, I got to still camp into that.
Mm-hmm.
My thinking about
deeper
her
thoughts.
Yeah, so I was able to write down more. So that I enjoyed that part of it. I didn't feel as rushed.
Yeah,
but I think it's going to be
great.
a great
It was
series.
the affirming side of things, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And just hearing Amy say these things to me.
Right.
And it's like, man, I felt 10 feet tall and bulletproof.
Yep.
In that moment. I was like, man, that's all, I don't, we like the affirmation.
And again, this kind of comes from Harley's book, His Needs, Her Needs,
mm-hmm.
where he's a counselor. He's counseled with thousands of couples. And he says, generally speaking, you have a list of the 5 top things that the guy needs, the 5 top things that the woman needs. Her top need is feeling secure. His top need is to feel respected.
Yeah.
And so when you're hearing your wife say, man, here are the awesome things about you, that is feeding into your biggest
100%.
need. And so it really is cool to see that and for you to have felt that and say, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we don't always hear that stuff from our spouse.
I felt like we were giddy teenagers again.
Yeah.
Dating for the first time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just one of those things of kind of going, man, these are the things that are drawing you.
Yeah.
Or that drew me to you in the first place.
Yep.
And they're still as valid today.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I loved. Amy had told me one time, and she said, there's something about you putting on a hat backwards. She goes, that it just reminds me of us dating.
Yeah.
And so every time I'm around her now, I put my hat on backwards just to,
No, that's great.
I'm like, what do you think?
Yeah.
She's like, still does it. And I'm like, thank you,
listen,
sweetheart.
It's a cool look. I have to say, like a week or two ago when I came to the house and we were going to be working, you were already there. You had your hat back on. I was like, that's a cool look. That's a cool look because it was a fitted hat.
Attract my wife.
You have a fitted hat. It wasn't the click click click.
Click click. Yeah.
The
shows
generic.
all the head through it. And
Yeah.
so
that's funny.
But then and then the second thing was, what are some things that are frustrating? Where you find and it wasn't necessarily let's focus on the negatives. It was where you find yourself wanting to withdraw. And I think that was probably, I don't know if that was picked up on all the time, because sometimes we're like, oh gosh, now we got to just focus on the negative. And I feel like, I've got 52 things down here that frustrate me.
Yeah.
But it was, to me, it was like, okay, when do I see myself wanting to respond without grace?
Yeah.
It's, in this situation or it's in this thing. And so Amy and I talked, and it was kind of funny how similar our lists were. I could see where, okay, these are her things that are very frustrating to her.
Right.
And, and these are the things that are frustrating to me. And what I found is when I get frustrated with this, I purposely sometimes can do these things.
Kind of a passive aggressive.
It's a passive aggressive way of going, and it's something little. It's just leaving the cereal box on the side of the trash can instead of breaking it down and putting it in the trash can. Okay. I mean, just something as simple as, I know this frustrates her. Pop, and just then I walk out the door and be like, hey, enjoy that box inside the
right.
And it's little petty things most of the time that we just kind of go, you know what, because you didn't meet my desire here,
right? I'm
going to forcefully, and it's not, I mean, as guys, we don't always forcefully do anything. Sometimes we just forget, and Amy's like, I thought you'd be, after 25 years, you could read my mind and you can know what I like and what I want and what I need. And I'm like, sweetheart, till the day I die, I'm going to need you to have to remind me and tell me. But
Yeah, no, for me, and I don't even need to have a discussion with April to know, like the first 10 years of our marriage, I would leave the kitchen cabinet doors just open. She would walk into the kitchen and every cabinet door would be open. And I didn't even think about it. I didn't notice it. I would just, grab what I needed and go. And it was just, I was oblivious. And so that was one of her things. She was like, "Are you kidding me?
What are you doing?"
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my wife knows that frustrates me. And so like I'll be in the bed and she'll go to grab a shirt or something to sleep in, and she'll open every drawer in our dresser, and then she'll change shirts and climb in the bed. And I look over at her and I'm like,
"Now I can't sleep."
I'm like, "Seriously?" And she goes, "What?" And I'm like, I said, "Are you going to get up and shut those?" And she goes, "No."
Yeah.
And so I get up, of course.
I think Amy and I are a lot alike. I'm with the drawers, the backwards hat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. I don't imagine for most people hearing their list was a surprise to us.
No.
I don't think it's probably the first time. I think we're well aware of those things, like you said.
Correct. And it's like, okay, so if I'm going to show grace, how do I, remind myself of it? A gentleman told me at dinner last night, he said, he goes, "My wife did something this afternoon," and he said, "My old response would have been this."
Yeah.
And he goes, "But all I could think about was the sermon this morning and at Grace Bear." And he goes, and I went, "You know what? I'm not." And I said, "Praise God."
Yeah.
I said, just the split second of just kind of going, I've got a choice in this moment. How am I going to respond to this?
Well, in your sermon yesterday, you talked about how you're never both at 100%. It's not a 50-50 give and take. There's times when, she's doing 80% of the work and you're just kind of, she's pulling you along and vice versa. And so, taking the attitude of, well, she's not acting this way. It's just remembering, right now she's doing all she can do to be at 20%.
Absolutely.
I get to help her to bring her number up by avoiding those things that frustrate her, doing the things I know she appreciates. And that's just, like you said, when it works that way, it's great. You just hope that you're not both at
20% when it's that scenario. And you got to know that, you're probably not going to get applause, and I know
that's hard for us guys.
It is hard for us guys because it's like, look, I
loaded the dishwasher.
I talked to a couple that are, I will say north of 60. Okay. And they were telling me that the wife actually put up a chart and gives him stars. And he was like, let me tell you something. He said, that is the most encouraging, rewarding thing I've ever had. And I was like, how fun is that?
So what might be emasculating
turns out to be the most celebrated thing in the world. He said our kids came in. Kids are married, have kids of their own. He said they came in, they're like, "What is this on the fridge?" And he goes, "That's my star chart." And he was so happy. It was like, "Dude, I get my star, honey. I did it."
Yeah, no, I mean, if that star represented something else, that might be good. So
what I'm saying is it doesn't take much for us as husbands to feel that respect, to feel affirmed.
Yeah.
If you put a gold star for us somewhere, then we're like, man, we did it. So I was thinking we don't always get the applause, which reminded me of our dinner last night and, celebrating the volunteers.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times what they do around here doesn't get the applause. Doesn't even it goes unnoticed.
Right.
Just almost expected, so many times we're oblivious to what's really going on behind the scenes. And we think, oh, we're just, going to attend church. And, and there's so many parts that go into this thing. And so last night I thought it was so much fun to be able to celebrate, these volunteers that give and give of their time. They give of their talent, their creative resources, just to make things run smooth around here. And so last night we celebrated them. We had a nice dinner. John and the kitchen team did a fabulous job of pork tenderloin and chicken piccata and two types of broccoli and rice and salad and dessert. So we had these brownies that were fantastic, and they had fruit with them. And then we took around ice cream, and we had 4 different drizzles. We had chocolate, caramel, blackberry, and raspberry. Yeah. And I had set it in front of one of our volunteers, and she goes, "Sir, may I get a little ice cream and maybe a drip?" And I was like, "It's right behind me." She goes, "Seriously?" She goes, "I was totally joking." And I'm like, "No, we have thought of everything tonight." I said, "We are just here to love on you and to say thank you for what you do." And
so she didn't know that?
No, she didn't know we'd had the ice cream and all the extra stuff. Funny. She was trying to be funny and say, "This is it," you know? And I'm like, "No, I do." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, y'all thought of everything," you know? And it's just nice to be able to say thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I really appreciate everything that you guys do. And it may go unseen a lot of times, but, you know, what we want is people to encounter Christ. And so our volunteers are what make that happen.
Yeah. In that room. And that was the thing too. It wasn't just 120 life group leaders.
No.
It wasn't, you know, just people that work in tech or student ministry. Or there were so many different ministries represented.
Yes.
People using their skills, talents, abilities, and it's the reason why just even at the inception of the kitchen team, it was like, I really want them to cook the meal because I want them to shine. And so I was really excited to be able to do that. And they did a great job.
Fantastic.
Great job. Everybody jumped in, and to have the church staff help with the serving, it really, really went well. And, you know, I wanted to impress on them at the end of the night is absolutely, we celebrate you guys. We couldn't do it without you. But there is, you know, when you think about how it should be and how God created us, He created us. He didn't just save us from, He saved us for. And so really, we're not living our full potential Christian life when we're not serving.
Yeah.
When we're not using the gifts that God gave us, because He didn't give them to us for us.
No.
And so, you know, I was like, you know, I think we will know that we have done what God has called us to as equippers.
Correct.
When we can have worship on Sunday morning with 500 people in the room, and then have not a volunteer meal, but a meal, because everyone is a volunteer, and not a volunteer, a minister. And so 100%. That we have 500 people, as many people that come to worship are involved in ministry, because that's what we're all called to do. Absolutely. It's not, those people are gifted. We're all gifted. We all have areas where we can love and serve and minister and see God do stuff in us and through us. And we're leaving money on the table in a sense. Yeah. We're leaving a part of our Christian walk and faith completely unopened when we don't step into that. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, you know, with the kitchen team, it can be stressful. You know, you're talking different personalities in there, different levels of experience, a time crunch, and it's interesting to see.
Oh yeah.
When we're squeezed,
out.
Yeah. And so, but
how do you handle pressure?
Yeah.
And trust me, I know some of you have watched, you know, kind of these Gordon Ramsay, Top Chef kind of things. John gets like that in the kitchen, right?
It's funny. It's funny. I learned this when we did the meal for the youth at youth camp a couple years ago. Is I like to lead by collaboration.
Yeah.
I don't like telling people this, but like with a kitchen, you really have to do that.
Yeah.
That is the only way it goes forward without chaos. And so I've had to step into that, which was a transition for me. And I've embraced it in that area because I'm luckily, and I even said, listen, if I've typed this stuff out, if you would just look and do what it says, you wouldn't be having this problem right now.
I think God feels that way with us.
I am sure.
I had typed it out for you. Yeah. Just do what it said.
Literally. Right there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
No, it was funny last night. We were cleaning up and I was watching you and I was like, gosh, John, it's got to be frustrating in the fact that you couldn't do anything hardly because of all the people we're coming at. John, where does this go? John, what does this do? John, what do we do? And it's like, I was like, now I know how my wife feels when we clean the house. Sometimes, Amy, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And she's like, oh, for the love of God, just go watch sports or something. Leave me alone. I can handle this.
Yeah,
like, okay, yes, ma'am.
And that is true. I mean, that's the kind of that learning how to lead, and I'm still learning.
Yeah,
is you want to be able to hand stuff off, and so there will be a kind of a rocky transition at first as people put things in the wrong places or do things the wrong way or just leave things undone. And I can either get really frustrated about that the next day, which most ministers write their resignation on a Monday. Right? Or the day after a big event.
You don't send it.
Right, yes.
Till Tuesday, but you write it every Monday. Yes.
Yeah, but the idea of, or how can I make this easier and how can I equip them to take ownership and be in charge of this and do it because it is, I mean, you tell us all the time as staff, it is so limiting when we do it all ourselves. Now, if I do it myself, I know it's going to be done exactly how I want it to be done, what I think makes sense, and it may be better ways to do it. But yeah, it is better, and the church works better when people have ownership, are able to use their gifts and abilities, and we're not the Superman,
Yeah,
So,
I need clarification on one thing. Before the whole night started, you had the staff gathered up.
Yeah.
And you singled me out and you said, hey, Jay, you have a gift of mingling. So why don't you just go around the tables, talk to people, love on people. And up to that point, I was with you. And I'm tracking. I thought, John is on this. This is good. And then you said, we need you to not mess up anything that the rest of us are doing. And I was just wondering, why the need to add that second component?
I think there's something back underneath deep down. No, your job, as far as I'm concerned, your job is always, when you get the time, especially with our volunteers, the people that give, is to spend time with them, to talk with them. Because it is your gift, but then as pastor, people feel more involved, more like it's their church when they know their pastor, when they, and it's one of the reasons we do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is we want people to see into our lives, into the what's going on behind the scenes of the church. But it was funny.
So it's not because the last 2.5 years you've worked with me, you've been at my house cleaning up, tearing up.
I'm not saying.
So you're not looking at me going, dear God, it gets worse when you're involved. You're just saying.
I didn't say there wasn't some truth in it.
Okay. I'm going to stop this before I end up in tears.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned it to April last night, and I said, hey, let me ask you a question. And I said, you're a counselor. I said, I need some counseling in this situation.
That's a dangerous conversation to start.
So I was expecting her to take my side and to walk me through, to affirm me in my gift mix.
How'd that work out for you?
It did not work out well. She said, well, I think you've got a lot to go home and reflect on there. If that's the attitude that people are feeling towards you, then there's probably truth in it. And I went,
that's funny.
Gosh, I didn't pay her. I said, I'm not paying you. I'm leaving. But no, I love this staff. I mean, several people last night were just going, this staff is fabulous. And I'm telling you, everybody stepped up and everybody was just, real connected with it last night. And we just enjoy being together. And I think people see that. And, and that's what I love. And so just kudos to everybody that's connected.
Everybody. Yeah. Everybody jumped in helped out. And I, again, want to give kudos to Todd, who does so much stuff behind the scenes. I am glad that he's been able to do some things where people are seeing his face and are aware, being able to tie the face and name to the talent that they're seeing. Like your 20th anniversary where he kind of started it off, kicked it off and ended it. But last night, just walking around with the video camera and capturing all that, that is, I can say personally, that's not something I usually think of. And it's something I usually look back on and regret that we didn't capture.
Why didn't we do something with that? Yeah.
But Todd had all that handled and did a great job. I'm looking forward to see, and he was subtle about it. So I know that he got our folks that were enjoying the banquet, our kitchen team, the staff, serving in a candid way. And so we can celebrate that.
Conversation. I don't like this food.
We'll have to edit out.
Here at this restaurant's horrible.
We'll have to edit out my Gordon Ramsay moments. But,
that'll be all right.
Yeah. There'll be two different videos. There'll be a blackmail video and
the one that makes sure Todd always has a job, and then the one that So what else is going on this month?
Well, so we did not know this was. We had to postpone this the volunteer banquet because of the snow days, and so we weren't sure how that would affect our numbers. We had about 112 register, which we have more volunteers than that, but we made sure we had plenty of food. We held some back, and there were still people going up for seconds and to-go boxes. But we've got enough to where for Wednesday night, we have shifted. We've pushed Cajun night 1 week down.
Yeah.
But we are serving, and it's not going to be like a leftovers, but we're doing a pork tenderloin in the wild rice with a demi-glace, and then we will we held back some of the chicken where Brian is instead of chicken piccata doing chicken marsala, which is fantastic. So it'll be different enough feel, but it'll still be just for those who were at the banquet.
Fine dining.
It'll be like you'll want to sign up for this one. Make sure you sign up because it's going to be delicious. So we're doing that, and then the next week, which I'm happy because I'm a little tired today after that.
Had a lot. So thinking
and
about
then,
gumbo.
To make the roux, which is a long process.
Yes,
but that's going to be a great meal as well.
Cool.
So
Sunday is daylight savings.
Oh gosh, is it?
We spring forward this week.
This is the worst one. This is the bad one, the evil one.
Yes.
Okay.
So at 2 a.m. is when it officially becomes 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So
all I know is I lose an hour of sleep.
We lose an hour of sleep.
Yeah.
But in your discipline, you'll go to bed early and you'll be fine on Sunday. Because time, you are very good with time. So I think you're going to be just fine on that. So make sure that you are ready to spring forward this Sunday. And we will make
y'all
sure
pray for us about
that.
that. We'll pray for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. So spring forward.
Spring
have a little grace with each other.
Yes.
Extra grace next Sunday.
This week.
Yeah.
And then we've got the 5K.
We do.
That's coming up on the 14th.
That sounds right. Yeah. Yep. And now you are starting a new series next week as well.
Yes. We'll kick off a brand new series. We're going to kind of get our hearts right. We've got about 4 weeks, and then Easter is the first Sunday in April.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do a series called Guard Your Heart. And really what it is kind of an inward reflection of how am I doing at protecting myself.
Yeah.
My daughter asked me this week, she said, "What'd you give up for Lent?" And I jokingly said, "Nothing, I'm Baptist." And she went, "Dad," and so, she was talking about some different things that she had given up and great conversation to be able to go, "Okay, why'd you give it up?" And she was like, "Because now instead of doing that, I'm now focusing more on," and I said, "Okay, that's what I needed to hear." I said, if we just give something up to give something up, it misses the whole purpose behind.
Yeah.
But it's just, how do we prepare our hearts for what's to come?
Yeah.
This Easter season and kind of refocus, if you will, on Christ and just thinking about his redemptive plan and what he went through.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that this
Yeah.
Sunday.
So this year we're just kind of taking this overarching theme of, spiritual warfare in that term gear up.
Yeah.
So how would you kind of say the Built to Last fits into that, and then this new series on Guard Your Heart fits into that?
Absolutely. So, we started with Ephesians 6, and we started with putting on the full armor of God.
Yeah.
And then I think that continues into our marriages.
Right.
That, hey, are we really geared up to face the things? That's what we talked about. Let's remember it's a covenant. Let's remember that how do we handle conflict? It's not the person, it's the problem. And so there's something in this that we've got to get to.
Yeah.
How do we have this commitment? These different things of kind of going, okay, I'm kind of haphazardly, if you will, maybe approaching this and I'm looking at it the wrong way. How do I flip this over and go, okay, hold on. If I'm really geared up, then I'm going to face my marriage differently than I did before.
Yeah.
And in this series, it's like, how many times have we let ourselves slip? And I don't think that it's just like with anything else. You don't drift towards God, you tend to drift away from him. And through this Guard Your Heart series, it's really a focus of what slipped in.
Yeah.
What seeds have now been planted in my heart that are beginning to take growth. And I didn't even know they were there necessarily, or weeds or different things that have gotten into my heart of kind of going, God, I need you to do some gardening on me so that I am geared up to make sure that I am the person you desire me to be, and so that I can face the temptations that are coming my way. Sometimes we give in to so many different things and then we go, why did I do that? Why did I find myself in this scenario? Well, I had let some seeds in that got planted somewhere and began to grow, and it led me down this path. And so I think we need to be more intentional with being the gatekeeper to our heart.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where this series starts. And then it'll continue kind of going down that path of going, man, I haven't really been guarding my heart. I've just let it be a wide open, open border. And just anything can come in and, and I think, oh, if it's wrong, I'll take captive. But that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Just being oblivious to the pitfalls, to the enemy.
Yeah.
To the stuff that you can do. I mean, even the heart itself, the scripture said is
deceitful.
Deceitful. So we don't follow our heart, we guard it. Yeah. And I love that we are looking at the different facets and we'll continue throughout the year that we can be equipped, that we can be on guard, that we can resist the devil and even, shore up things in our lives that can become strongholds. So
100%.
Already this year has started off great in that area. And because, if he can destroy the family, if he can destroy marriages, that's the beginning of destroying culture.
That's right. 100%.
Yeah.
And so all of that it ties in beautifully, and yet it's so practical.
Yeah.
To kind of going, okay, what does it mean to live this out
Yeah.
every day? And so just want to continue to drive that home throughout this year and just make us mindful.
Absolutely.
I think that's the key.
Okay. Well, a lot of stuff that we covered today and a lot of stuff going on. You do not want to miss what is happening at PCBC in the coming weeks with this new series, with the different activities that we're doing. But we do thank you for being a part of PCB, and we hope that you have a great rest of your day. And God bless.
Well, that's it for this episode of On Second Thought. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. If you have a question or thought, drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to find out more about your church on the corner, check us out at pcbchurch.org. We'll be back next week with more. So until then, have a great week and God bless.